Hello everyone, we're from Group 5. Today we're gonna tell you about the country in Asian. The country is Myanmar. First, we will tell you about significance of the paper. This paper will discuss and investigate major characteristics of Myanmar such as social culture, technology, environment, politics, and military security with short-run and long-term analysis. We also want to increase and stimulate public understanding about the current situation of Myanmar, such as their workforce, nature resource, SWOT analysis, economic strategy, and future goals. The significance of this study is used in academic writing by students to communicate the importance of a research problem. This section describes specific contribution made to your field of study and who benefits from it. And also the intent to with the study matters and its potential benefit to people, researchers, departments, and another field are described. Yeah.
And the objective of the paper is to provide insight focusing on the research about culture, technology, economy, environment, politics, and military securities. Research such as logical and systemic thinking, appropriate methodology, precise assumption, and obtaining the knowledge from this paper thoroughly. Another proposes for readers to acknowledge the goal of the projects and to recognize the situation with unverified assumptions, settle and precise research question, gather and adjust conception about the paper, leading to a reasonable agreement for the research question on the basis of the topic and also the resources in one of the past academic literature, language expertise, concept and convert analytical and evaluative skills proper to the topic, and understand the framework and involved information. To sum up, we want to clarify the current situation in Myanmar and want to inform the reader to know the relation of every sector to other dimensions.
So the first topic that we're gonna talk is the socio-cultural of the Myanmar. Myanmar traditional culture is a combination of folk and royal culture. Buddhism has been a part of Myanmar culture since the first century and has been with non-Buddhist beliefs. Myanmar also has a rich history and cultural tradition visible in festival, food, remains of past kingdom and temple. The majority of the population are the Burma group, around 68% of the population. However, the remaining third of the country contains over 130 ethnic groups and subgroups that each have their own dialect and specific beliefs. For basic infrastructure, Myanmar had higher literacy rates compared to other countries within the same level of economic development. The country is also known for high level of achievement motivation. However, Myanmar is still developing its hard and soft infrastructure. For example, transportation and logistical links are still underdeveloped, and the lack of electricity and water supply may cause problems for consumption utilization in Myanmar. And the last one that I'm going to talk is the art and literature. Burmese art is mostly inspired from Buddhist and Hindu. There are several styles of Buddha image, each with certain distinctive characteristics. The examples are blacksmith, wood carving, goldsmith. Moreover, Myanmar popular novels have similar themes to Western novels, often involving adventure, espionage, detective work, and romance.
So next, I'm going to talk about the technology. First, I have to say that Myanmar is located in Southeast Asia, where it faces the Bay of Bengal and the Andaman Sea, and border India, Bangladesh, China, Laos, and Thailand. It is home to more than 100 ethnic groups. Myanmar rely heavily on agriculture for income generation and economic growth, and 25% of the rural population face their livelihood in the agriculture, livestock, and fishery sector. Many of drivers of poverty and potential growth opportunities in Myanmar are connected with water management within the agriculture sector, which it is aimed to improve. Among the key challenges in achieving sustainable development are increasing crop production and trade. improve weather forecasting, increasing adaptation to extreme flood and drought events, and better strategy for water storage. Addressing this challenge is fundamental to securing long-term stability and success in the country. So, for key technology prioritized, I have separated into its adaptation and mitigation. Okay, first is adaptation. Agriculture is have solar power drip irrigation technology in cash crop production and sanitation. Conservation agriculture, all 3A technology for sustainable rain-fed agriculture land. Improvement of salinity tolerance rice variety in coastal and inland salinity areas. The second one is water. Water is a renovation and improvement in village ponds and tube wells. Water resource management for disaster management in river basin area. Solar power desalination and purification technology in coastal areas. For the second one of mitigation, we have energy and industry. For energy, we have solar mini-grid replacing incandescent lamps and fluorescent lamps with LED. Substitution of the use with efficient LPG at household level of computing. And the industry have energy efficient boiler, efficient electric motor, and solar thermal.
Okay, and for the economy sector, Myanmar's economy is one of the least developed in the region. Much of the population engaged directly in agricultural pursuit, and of those who are employed in the other sector of the economy, many are indirectly involved in agriculture through such activity as transporting, processing, marketing, and exporting agricultural goods. Okay, these are three main branches which contribute to the Myanmar economy. The first one is agriculture, the second one is forestry, and the last one is fishing. About half of all agricultural land in Myanmar is devoted to rice, and to increase production, the government has promoted multiple cropping, cultivation of 2 or more crops on a single piece of land in a single year, and a system that is easily supported by the country climate. As a whole, the sector accounts for nearly 1/2 of the country's gross domestic product, or GDP, and employ about 2/3 of the labor force. The gross domestic product in Myanmar was worth around $76.19 billion in 2020, according to the official data from the World Bank, which represent 0.07% of the world economy. And in the future, GDP in Myanmar is expected to be around $76.3 billion by the end of 2022, according to the Trade Economic Global Macro Model and Analysis Expectation. And last, in terms of economic activity in Myanmar, it continued to be affected by the substantial weakness in both supply and demand. Many firms in Myanmar continue to report sharp reduction in sales and profit, cash flow shortage, and lack of adequate access to banking and internet service. Results from the latest World Bank firm survey which indicated that around half of all companies experienced disruption in the supply of input and raw material in October, largely because of increase in cost amid logistic constraints and a sharp depreciation of the baht, which is their national currency. Furthermore, the ongoing economic pressure are having a substantial effect on vulnerability of food security, particularly for the poor, whose savings have been drained as a result of the recent shock.
Okay, next we will talk about environment in Myanmar. In Myanmar, despite their critical role to the country development and economic transformation, Myanmar forestry, fishery, and economic, they provide under tremendous pressure. The Myanmar country environmental analysis does a comprehensive analysis on the country environment and natural resource challenge and identify strategic economic recommendation to address the cause behind the degradation as well as promote improve environment management, investment, and expenditure practice. According to the current situation after COVID-19 pandemic, Myanmar rate of deforestation is one of the highest in the world. Food and Agriculture Organization statistics indicate that the area of forest land has dropped from 58% in 1919 to 47% in 2022, with 282 species of animal and plants are under threat according to the IUCN list. As a result, contributing to factor to this deterioration of the economic system include degradation of forests for agriculture practice, illegal poaching, improper mining practice, and international demand of Myanmar resources for energy use and agriculture commodity export. And Myanmar has relied heavily on natural resource exploration to sustain economic growth, and serious environmental issues are emerging and under-relying the importance of a clear and strong environment impact assessment system. And also air quality is also increased, compromise as industry and mining descend, and urban waste being new, increasing environment health issue. Rapid urban growth in Myanmar generate additional pressure linked to solid waste generation.
And the topic we are going to talk about is politics. The military coup on February 1, 2021 effectively ended the democratic transition under Aung San Suu Kyi National League for Democracy, or we call NLD. The NLD was poised to return to power for another 5 years after winning landslide general elections in November 2020. Instead, under the Military State Administration Council, or SAC, junta led by Senior General Min Aung Hlaing, soldiers and police round up hundreds of members of parliament, including Aung San Suu Kyi and senior NLD party members, and held them in arbitrary detention for months, many of them in undisclosed locations. The military seized power, making unfounded claims of widespread and systematic election and voter irregularity. Other international and domestic election observers found that the election was credible and reflected the will of the majority of the voters. The junta brought multiple charges against Aung San Suu Kyi, including for corrupting, incitement, and breaching the Official Secret Act. 3 of her dispersed cabinet ministers and an Australian economic advisor also faced charges under the Official Secret Act. On March 14, the junta imposed martial law in several townships across Yangon and began to enforce national restrictions in other parts of the country. On May 13, the junta also imposed martial law in Shin State, Mindat Township, after clashes between security forces and lighting armed opposition militants. Under martial law's orders, direct authority over the townships was transferred to the respective regional military commanders. Since the coup, the military has intensified military operations against ethnic armed groups in some areas, such as Shin State. The military's indiscriminate use of artillery and airstrikes to reportedly injured and killed civilians, damaged villages, including schools, and forced thousands to flee.
Next, I'm going to talk about military security. So the Tatmadaw is the official name of the Armed Forces of Myanmar. Formerly, it is Burma. It is administered by Ministry of Defense and composed of the Myanmar Army, the Myanmar Navy, and the Myanmar Air Force. Auxiliary service include the Myanmar Police Force, the Border Guard Force, and the Myanmar Coast Guard and the People Military Unit. Since independence, the Tatmadaw has faced significant ethnic insurgency, especially in Kachin, Kayan, and Shan State. General Nevin took control of the country in 1952, grouped the Ijet, attempting to build an autarkic society called the Burmese Way to Socialism. Following the violent repression of nationwide protests in 1980, the military agreed to free election in 1990, but ignored the resulting victory of the National League for Democracy and Inclusion in its leader Aung San Suu Kyi. The 1990 also saw the escalation of the conflict between Buddhists and Rohingya Muslims in Rakhine State due to ISO attack on Tatmadaw Force. In 2008, the Tatmadaw against rewrote Myanmar constitution, installing the pro-junta Union Solidarity Development Party. In 2010, election boycott by most opposition groups. Political reform over the next half decade culminated in a sweeping NLD victory in the 2015 election after USDP lost another election in 2020. The Tamara annulled the election and it was the civilian government. The Tamara has been widely accused by international organizations of human rights offenses and crime against humanity, including ethnic cleansing, political repression, torture, sexual assault, war crime, extrajudicial punishment, including summary execution, and massacre of civilians involved in peaceful political demonstration. According to Constitution of Myanmar, the Tamil report to the National Defense and Security Council, led by the President of Myanmar. The NDSC is an 11-member National Security Council responsible for security and defense affairs in Myanmar. The NDSC serves as the highest authority in the government of Myanmar.
So the last topic that we're gonna talk is the SWOT analysis of Myanmar. First thing first, we're gonna talk about the Myanmar state, which is the abundant commodity, the mineral including jade, ruby, copper, gold, gas, and oil, hydroelectricity opportunity. Moreover, availability of low-cost labor is one of the key differences between Myanmar and other ASEAN members. From data that we gather, the majority of the population is considered young because 77% of the population is under 14 years old. So the available workforce is very immense. For the weakness of Burma or Myanmar, the 2021 coup d'etat had isolated the country and its economy, despite some relation with its neighbor. So from this action, it leading to a sharp contraction of the Myanmar economy since 2021. In addition, corruption is highly endemic and the business environment is very poor. The lack of soft and hard infrastructure, as I have mentioned above, is significantly obstructing Myanmar development and reducing Myanmar attractiveness for foreign investment. For opportunity, Myanmar is undergoing a fundamental political and economic transformation to a democratic national state. Then, if everything is going back on track again, we believe that Myanmar economic strategy combined with the investment incentive will attract foreign investors again. In terms of location and connectivity, Myanmar is one of the largest countries in mainland of Southeast Asia. Its domestic market has more than 50 million citizens, and Myanmar also have direct access to China and India. ASEAN and other international markets through ports along the Bay of Bengal and Andaman Sea. So the last topic is the threat. The sharp deterioration of public account had occurred. The public deficit increased due to the decline in tax revenue, which is 30% of total government revenue in 2019. This impoverishment and lower household consumption has thus played an important role in the reduction of this revenue. This increase is further explained by the significant contraction of GDP over the year and the depreciation of the kyat, or we can call it kyat, which is the national currency of Myanmar, The persistence of the deficit and the depreciation of the yuan could cause a further increase in public debt in 2022 and 2023 in the fiscal year. So this is the end of our presentation. Thank you.